Hola gente, this is a video because we had a storm last Tuesday and I couldn't reach out to all of you with the proper timing to expose what is Mujerista Theology. My thoughts is that you can grasp my reading of this text and what I think it will be a key for the understanding of this text, Mujerista Theology. So I will start saying that when you come from a culture, you have a way to see things and a world that it's around you shaped by the words that you use to refer to it. So in the case of Mujerista Theology, she is using a few words that I want to make clear that are not just words, but are worlds and are worlds of meaning that will help us to understand what maybe could be Mujerista Theology in a Latin American perspective and in a perspective of women who are and have been migrants in the context of New York, or in the context of Boston, in the context of migration from Latin American countries to the United States. And I don't know if you make this context more flesh, but you can go to East Boston and realize the number of migrants from Latin America who work there, who live there, and who have made the space their home. But you don't call it home, you call it in Spanish casa, and casa has different connotations. For us, we like to touch, we like to hug, we like the expressivity. When someone asks me, how are you? And you say, good, how are you? For me, that's like trashy, because in Colombia or in my language, it's the good, how are you? Usually we don't like the short sentence. For us, it's not a way of courtesy, but a way of really, how are you? And we are taking care of it. In just that example of casa would be specifically the role of the mother cooking, or the smell of the kitchen, flavor of rice, of the beans, or even food that you don't imagine in your brains, like the cow's tongue or the pig's tail. For us, it's also part of our life. And in this case, I will refer to the word lo cotidiano. Those things that we have, lo cotidiano would be, if I could explain to you, lo cotidiano will be home context, the things I see around. When I wake up every day, I don't wake up in a blank space. I don't wake up in an empty space. I wake up in a bed who was given to me, in a room that maybe it's on rent, or maybe I own, or maybe someone gave to me. But the lo cotidiano for us has a lot of weight. And if you think in the context of migrant, lo cotidiano maybe is not has an implications of survival. Have you ever been a migrant, suffer hunger, and knowing that lo cotidiano for you it's maybe two meals a day? What if trying to translate the words of Mujerista Theology to understand the richness of what she's speaking and how she's referring to the world. La lucha, not just as the struggle or the fight, but la lucha, if we could imagine the woman, or usually is the woman, the gender, the person who usually it's thought that realizes the cleaning or the domestic labors. So in this case, the woman who takes the bus, in the case of Bogota, Colombia, one of the most traffic jam cities in the world, 2 hours to get to the place of this rich Colombian woman who will tell her to do everything, and then she will leave 2 hours of traffic to come back to her house and settle her home. La lucha, it's it's not a fight or a struggle that it's different or difficult to describe when you wake up and maybe you have financial problems, or when you start to realize that you haven't have struggled enough. That la lucha is for those who have really seen day by day. In the case of familia, la familia, if I could describe you my familia, it could be not like Encanto, the movie of Disney, but more the way that a mother sacrificed her job as a flight attendant to raise me. And in the case of my father, he spent his whole life working for us to give us a nice education and to save money as we should. And when the only time that the few times that I had the chance to travel, it was Taco Bell, McDonald's, and eating a banana for breakfast and seeing the world with a distance, because familia, it's a protection. And for familia, for us, is not just the familia of mommy and daddy, but also the uncles, the aunts, the cousins. So we have a very strength net that we are visited. And in the case of community for us is based on the notion of familia. And if you see that familia for us, it's keeping the conversation alive, talking to my uncles at least once a month, once every 5 months. I mean, in my case, knowing how they are and trying to understand their lives, but also keeping the connection. And also community will be a relation where you are constantly moving between spaces that you feel close, and that they will receive you very open, because they know that you approach to them with the gentle kindness, Latina alegría, Latin cheer and joy, because we have this notion on survival based also on gratitude. And if we are related to that, we come to the parties. And parties are the most nice and beautiful ways to gather, to celebrate, to shout. And also there is drama. I mean, if you've seen the telenovelas, you know that we are drama. But for us, parties, you can come as a tourist and even feel welcome, but sometimes I am offended because the tourist comes, takes the party, enjoys the party, and then leaves. And for us, it's very important to keep the connection, because then it's also an extraction of the place. And in the case of words that she uses, like Así es la vida, I wanted to bring a song that, in the context, maybe or maybe not, Así es la vida, it's like, that's life. And that's life in a way not just of resignation, but a way of acceptance, a way of knowing that things are changing, but slowly, and that you cannot make everything to adapt as fast as you think you want it. And in the case of La Lucha Diaria, will be a connection between Lo Cotidiano and La Lucha, the daily struggle. And in this daily struggle, it's realizing that capitalism, the oppression that you are defining to be principal in your life, it's incarnated in specific and small actions. That is why my basic and my most important word for today is solidaridad. Solidaridad. Solidaridad is a word that for us is not just helping each other, but it's realizing that together around the table, giving us hugs, touching each other, serving mutually food, sharing the dishes, sharing the words, and knowing that we are not going to change life itself in a second, but we are going to embrace solidaridad as a way that we can express how together we are. In that case, if we understand solidaridad, we can connect el amor por el vecino o el amor por el prójimo. prójimo for us is neighbor. You use neighbor because neighbor translated for us is vecino, but for us the word is prójimo, and prójimo it's like relative, like próximo, like close. And in that case, solidaridad and the love of the neighbor, it's also related to the sense of listening. And for us Latinos, sometimes we struggle because all of us want to say something and we want to take the microphone. But in the case of Mujerista Theology, let's remember, and this is going to be the final part of this video, let's remember that solidaridad, in the case of Mujerista Theology and by the author, it's based on an act of listening. Remember the scene that she has and how Peru changed her life experience, how she needed to listen first, the struggles and the ways people see the world, in order to make and to understand and to see how things are in her context. Again, solidaridad. Connect that word with listening to the other in order to move and to know how to move along the other or with other people, in order to love your neighbor. That for us is not, neighbor is not vecino, neighbor is prójimo. And prójimo, it's someone that will challenge the notions and the limits on help, because you're really trying to be there with that person, not in an American way that I'm sorry for you and I'll pray for you. No, it's in a way that you're really saying, I'll give you my time and space. Let's do it. What do you need? And my dear people who are not Latinos, Latinas, have problems with the word Latinx, I will give you my love. And I painted a few things because you are at the end of the video from the icon workshop that I did this spring semester, so maybe you can grasp a sense on the things I was doing this weekend, and that we can break our notions on lo cotidiano, and we can still have this conversation on solidaridad this Tuesday that I have to expose, I have to present. And thank you. I mean, you're already here. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh. Thank you, and have a beautiful night of Sunday.